Good morning, dear students. Myself Babida Matthew. Today, I am going to discuss about the topic eclampsia. In previous class, we discussed about the preeclampsia. So, it's continuation of that is eclampsia. Definition. Verdes coined the term eclampsia is derived from a Greek word meaning is like a flash of lightning. It's like a flash of lightning. Eclampsia is comes. Eclampsia is defined as a new onset of grand mal seizures activity in pregnancy and postpartum period. It is a grand mal seizure activity during pregnancy and postpartum period. It is known as eclampsia. Preeclampsia, when complicated with generalized tonic-clonic seizures and coma, is called as eclampsia. So, these two definitions also we can say in the eclampsia. So, preeclampsia when complicated with generalized tonic-clonic seizures and coma is called eclampsia. Then, in most of the cases, over 80%, this is preceded by features of severe preeclampsia. So, we can see the etiology. The exact etiology is unknown, more common in previous hypertensive disease. Reading of BP when taken in at an interval of at 6 hours apart, failure of placentation, abnormal lipid metabolism, decreased calcium diet, and other causes are ACDEPR, that is alcohol, coarctation of aorta, drugs, endocrine disease, pregnancy-induced hypertension, and renal disease. So these are the etiological factors, same as in the preeclampsia. So that because preeclampsia when complicated with the seizures activities and coma is known as the eclampsia. So the etiology factors are same as in the preeclampsia. Next, risk factors. This is also same, that is primigravida, the age is over 30, past history of the same condition in the previous pregnancy, pre-existing disease condition which the placenta enlarges. Next we can see causes of convulsion. The cause of cerebral irritation leading to convulsion is not clear. The irritation may be provoked by anoxia, cerebral edema and cerebral dysrhythmia. So how the anoxia occurs? Spasm of cerebral vessels causes increased cerebral vascular resistance that cause fall in the cerebral oxygen consumption. So when the cerebral oxygen consumption falls, that causes anoxia. Second, cerebral edema. It may contribute to irritation. And cerebral dysarrhythmia, it increases the following anoxia or edema. This is excessive release of excitatory neurotransmitters, that is glutamate. That's why the cerebral dysarrhythmia occurs. So these are the causes of convulsion, that is anoxia, cerebral edema and cerebral dysarrhythmia. Next is the onset of fits. Fits occur more commonly in the third trimester. About 50% of cases it is occur in the third trimester. So in antepartum 50% occurs, that is 50 fits occur before the onset of labor. Then intrapartum around 30% occur in the intrapartum period. So fits occur for the first time during labor. Then postpartum around 20% occur in postpartum period. Fits occur for the first time in the prepuberty, usually within 40 hours of delivery. Fits occurring beyond 48 hours but less than 4 weeks after delivery is accepted as late postpartum eclampsia. So these are the onset of fits occurring antepartum, intrapartum and the postpartum. Next we can see the clinical features of eclampsia. That is, except on rare occasion, an eclamptic patient always shows previous manifestation of acute pulmonary preeclampsia. So premonitory symptoms are usually occur, that is increased BP, increased weight gain and proteinuria, facial puffiness and pitting edema. So we can see in the eclampsia what are the clinical features occurs. First, it is classified into the 4 stages. So first is the premonitory stage. In the premonitory stage, patient will become unconscious. there is twitching of the muscles of the face. You can see this tongue and the limbs. Eyeballs or roll or turn into one side and become fixed. You can see it is become fixed. This stage lasts about for 30 seconds. Okay, this is the premonitory stage. Second is tonic stage. The whole body goes into a tonic spasm. The trunk is opisthotonous. That is, this is the opisthotonous structure. The trunk goes like a structure, bent like structure. The limbs are flexed. You can see this one, and hands are clenched. So respiration ceases and the tongue protrudes between the teeth and cyanosis appears. Eyeballs become fixed. This stage also lasts for around 30 seconds. So these are the premonitory stage and tonic stage. Next we can see the clonic stage. So clonic stage, all the voluntary muscles undergo alternate contraction and relaxation, and the twitching start in phase that involves one side of the extremities, and ultimately the whole body is involved in the convulsion. Next, biting of the tongue occurs and breathing is stertorous. Breathing is stertorous and blood-stained frothy secretions when the convulsion occurs, blood-stained serous stertorous, this blood-stained frothy secretion is coming through the mouth, and cyanosis gradually disappears, and this stage also lasts for 1 to 2 minutes. So only lasts for 1 to 2 minutes. This is clonic stage. Next is stage of coma. Following the fit, the patient passes on the stage of coma. It may last for the brief period, or in other deep coma persists till another convulsion. On occasion, the patient appears to be in a confused stage following the fits and fails to remember the happenings, and rarely the coma occurs without prior convulsion. The fits are usually multiple, recurring at various intervals. When it occurs continuously, it is called status epilepticus. And following the convulsion, the temperature rises, pulse and respiration rates are increased, and blood pressure also increases. The urine output is markedly diminished, the proteinuria is in pronounced, blood uric acid also raised. So these are the 4 stages of the this eclampsia. So first is premonitory stage, second is tonic stage. So premonitory stage only lasts for 30 seconds, and tonic stage is lasts for 30 seconds, and clonic stage is lasts for 1 to 4 minutes, and last the stage of patient become in the stage of coma. Next, other clinical features like other symptoms may be asymptomatic, and patient may have headache and visual disturbances, epigastric pain, edema, high BP, fluid retention, disc reflex, and fundal level less than approximate date. Next, we can see what are the organ dysfunction in preeclampsia and the eclampsia. So first is cardiovascular. Generalized vasospasm will be the increased peripheral vascular resistance, decreased CVP, decreased pulmonary wedge pressure. So these are the changes or the functional organ function in the cardiac vascular system. Next is the hematological changes: decreased plasma volume, hemoconcentration, coagulation disorder, increased blood viscosity. Third, the renal system, how it is involved: decreased GFR, decreased renal plasma flow, increased serum uric acid. Then in the central nervous system, cerebral edema, cerebral hemorrhage, posterior that is parietal or occipital lobe, reversible encephalopathy syndrome will be occur, and basal ganglia brain stimulation will be the other. That is only rare occasion occurs. Then in hepatic, liver cell damage, periportal necrosis, subcapsular hematoma. So these are the different organ dysfunction that occur in different systems, that is cardiovascular, hematological, renal, central nervous system, and the hepatic. Next, we can see what are the maternal complications of eclampsia. So, first is injuries that because of tongue bite in the seizures time. So, tongue bite, that's why injury due to fall from the bed, and bed sore may be there. And pulmonary complications like edema due to leaky blood capillaries, pneumonia due to aspiration or hypostatic or infective, and adult respiratory distress syndrome and embolism. Then hyperpyrexia, cardiac is acute left ventricular failure, renal failure, hepatic necrosis, subcapsular hematoma, cerebral edema or hemorrhage, and neurological deficits, disturbed vision due to retinal detachment or occipital lobe ischemia, hematological thrombocytopenia, diminished intravascular coagulopathy, postpartum, that is shock, sepsis, psychosis. These are the complications to the mother. Next is the acute left ventricular failure, pneumonia, acute respiratory distress syndrome, pulmonary edema, hepatic necrosis. We can see the neonatal complications, neonatal and fetal complication, death, prematurity. Okay, so you can see this one, neonatal and fetal complication, that is death, prematurity, placental infraction, abruptio placentae, fetal hypoxia, aspiration, etc. And IUGR and sepsis. So these are the neonatal and fetal complications. So now we see the complication for the mother and neonatal and fetal complications. So you can see from this picture, tongue bite. This is fetal hypoxia. This is premature infant. Fetal. This is intracranial hemorrhage. This is fetal hypoxia. Then abruptio placentae. Then IUGR babies. So next we can see the maternal immediate. That is, next we can see the prognosis. In the prognosis, maternal immediate prognosis, that is, once the convulsion occurs, the prognosis becomes uncertain, and prognosis depends on many factors, and ominous features are long interval between the onset of fits and commencement of treatment, antepartum eclampsia, especially with a long delivery interval, number of fits more than 10, coma in between the fits, temperature over 102 degree Fahrenheit with a pulse rate above 120 per minute, and blood pressure over 200 mm of Hg systolic, and oliguria, that is less than 400 ml per 24 hours, and proteinuria less than 5 gram for 24 hours, and non-responsive to treatment, and jaundice. This is an immediate prognosis. Then mortality will be the mortality. Maternal mortality in eclampsia is very high in India, and causes are cardiac failure, pulmonary edema, aspiration or sepsis, septic pneumonia, cerebral hemorrhage, acute renal failure, cardiopulmonary arrest, adult respiratory syndrome, distress syndrome, pulmonary embolism, postpartum shock, puerperal sepsis. So because of these, mortality for maternal mortality is occurs, and maternal complications are higher in, usually it occurs in the antepartum eclampsia. Next we can see the prognosis of fetal. The perinatal mortality is very high in the extent of about 30 to 50%. The causes are prematurity, that is spontaneous or induced, and intrauterine asphyxia due to placental insufficiency arising out of the infraction, retroplasmal hemorrhage and spasm of uteroplasmal vasculature, and effects of drug that may cause to the fetal, that is that drugs used to control the convulsion that may adversely affect the baby, and trauma during the postoperative. It is a fetal prognosis. Next we can see the investigation. Urine to see the proteinuria. Ophthalmoscopic examination should be done to see the retinal edema, constriction of arterioles, alteration of normal ratio of vein and arteriole, and hemorrhage. Next, blood values should be checked. Serum uric acid level may be increased. Blood urea level remains normal or slightly raised. And serum creatinine level may be more than 1 mg per deciliter. There may be thrombocytopenia and abnormal coagulation profile. And hepatic enzyme level may be increased. Next, we can see the management. So, in the management, we can see the aim of management, prediction and prevention, first aid management outside the hospital, general management, that is medical and nursing, specific management, and obstetrical management. So, we can see each one in detail. So, first is prediction and prevention. In majority of cases, eclampsia is preceded by preeclampsia, and thus prevention of eclampsia rests on early detection and effective institutional treatment with the judicious treatment of pregnancy during eclampsia. So eclampsia may be present in atypical ways. Hence, it is at times difficult to predict. So use of anti-hypertensive drugs, anti-convulsant therapy, and timely delivery are important steps. And close monitoring during labor and 24 hours postpartum is also important in prevention of eclampsia. So we have to have proper management during labor and 24 hours after the postpartum. Then, unfortunately, 30 to 80% of cases of eclampsia remain unpreventable. So use of magnesium sulfate lowers the risk of eclampsia. That is the prediction and prevention. Next, first aid treatment outside the hospital. The patient either at home or in the health center should be shifted urgently to the tertiary referral care hospital because there is no place of continuing the treatment in such places because management cannot be done. So transportation of an eclamptic patient to the tertiary care center is very important. Such patients need neonatal and obstetrical intensive care management. That's why there is need of transferring the mother to the tertiary hospital. So important steps you have to take while transporting the patient are all the maternal records and detailed summaries should be sent with the patient, and BP should be established, and convulsion should be arrested, and drugs should be given like magnesium sulfate, labetalol, diuretic, diazepam. Once medical personnel and a trained midwives accompany the patient in equipped ambulance to prevent the injury and complication. So these are the important steps. These are the important steps in transportation while transferring the patient. Next, hospital management. Principles of management are maintain airway, breathing and circulation, oxygen administration 8 to 10 liter per minute, and arrest convulsion, ventilatory support if needed and can give that, and prevention of injury, hemodynamic stabilization to control the BP, organized investigation, deliver by 6 to 8 hours, and prevention of complication and postpartum care. So these are the principles of management if we are doing in the hospital. So first is general management or supportive care to prevent serious maternal injury from the fall, to prevent aspiration, to maintain airway, to ensure oxygen. That is a CPR, like a CPR. Okay. So general management, the hospital and nursing, that is supportive care. Aim to prevent serious maternal injury from fall, to prevent aspiration, to maintain airway, to ensure oxygenation. Patient is kept in railed cot. So that is to prevent the fall. And a tongue depressor inserted between teeth to prevent the teeth bite. And she is kept in the lateral position to avoid aspiration. And vomitus and oral secretions are removed by frequent suctioning. Oxygenation is maintained through the face mask to prevent respiratory acidosis. Oxygenation is monitored during the transcutaneous pulse using the transcutaneous pulse oximetry. ABG analysis is needed when oxygen saturation falls below 92%, and sodium bicarbonate is given with the PA when pH is below 7 to 10. Then, the patient should have a doctor or at least a trained midwife for constant observation. So you should not leave the patient alone during the convention or official act. So these are the supportive care, that is to prevent the tongue bite, to prevent the fall from the bed, and to maintain the proper oxygenation and to clear the airway. We are told to clear the airway, we have to do the sectioning, keep the lateral position to avoid aspiration. To prevent tongue bite, we have to keep the tongue depressor, and to prevent the fall from the bed, you can keep a railed cot. Next, take the history. That when the patient is maintained in the almost in the normal position, we have to take proper history. So detailed history is to be taken from relative relevant to diagnosis of eclampsia during the pregnancy, duration of pregnancy, number of fits, and nature of medication administered outside. So if the patient is referred from the other hospital, we have to take all this history. Next, you have to do the examination. When the patient is stabilized, a thorough quick general examination of the abdomen and vaginal examination are made. A self-retaining catheter is introduced and urine is tested for the protein. Next, monitoring. Every half an hourly pulse, respiration rate are to be recorded, and hourly urine output is to be noted because there is a chance of oliguria. Then, if undelivered, the uterus should be palpated at regular intervals to detect the progress of labor, and fetal heart rate to be monitored. Then immediately after the convention, fetal bradycardia is usually common. Next is fluid balance. Crystalloid solution, that is Ringer solution RL, is started as the first choice. Normally it should not exceed 2 liters in 24 hours. So your intake output should be maintained. Next, antibiotic coverage. Ampicillin 500 mg IM or IV 6 thermally can be given to prevent infection, and broad spectrum antibiotic we are providing. Next is specific management, is anticonvulsant. Magnesium MgSO4 is the drug of choice for anticonvulsant. So that is how it is administered. So that is the loading dose 10 gram, that is 4 gram dissolved in 12 cc distilled water. Then IV slowly over 10 to 20 minutes. So it is provided, that is 4 gram dissolved in 12 cc distilled water. Then you can administer as very slowly, that is 10 to 20 minutes. Then 3 gram IM in each bottle. So this is the method of providing the MgSO4. And this is loading dose. Then next is maintenance dose is 2.5 gram IM in alternative buttocks. So that is both buttocks we can provide, that is 2.5 gram, that is 4th hourly up to 24 hours from the last convention or delivery which comes later. Next, magnesium sulfate can be given only if the knee joints are present. Then urine output exceeds 30 ml per hour and respiration rate is more than 12 per minute. Other regimens are the lytic cocktail using chlorpromazine, clomethazine and pentatidine. Okay, so this is the other regimen. Then diazepam and phenytoin also can be given. So how can we give these medicines? That is lytic cocktail regimen, that is given is on admission 25 mg chlorpromazine and 100 mg pethidine in 20 ml of 5% dextrose are given intravenously along with 50 mg of chlorpromazine and 25 mg of promethazine given intramuscularly. Subsequently, promethazine 25 mg and promazine 50 mg are given intramuscularly, alternatively at 4 hours interval for a period of 24 hours following the last feed. Dose and time schedule are not rigid and can be modified according to the need of the case. And intravenous 500 ml of 10% dextrose drip is started at the beginning with 100 ml 100 mg pethidine. The drip rate is adjusted to 20 to 30 drops per minute and not more than 2 liters of dextrose, and in all 300 pethidine are to be given and in 24 hours. The pethidine drip should be continued up to 24 hours following the last feed. Next is diazepam. How can be provided? Diazepam is used in the initial doses of 40 mg intravenously. A further 40 mg in 500 ml of 5% dextrose is infused at 30 drops per minute or adjusted as per the need. When the maternal mortality rate is using this regimen is 5.0%. That is a diazepam therapy. Next is a phenytoin therapy. So in the phenytoin, this is the phenytoin. So how the phenytoin can be used? It is used to control the convulsion. It is used by slow intravenous route with the ECG monitoring. An initial dose is 10 mg per kg followed by 5 mg per kg 2 hours later. Thereafter 200 mg is given orally after 12 hours. It is continued until 48 hours after delivery. The important side effects are hypotension, cardiac dysrhythmia, and phlebitis are at the site of administration, and its experience with the phenytoin is limited. So these are the other regimens, that is a lytic cocktail regimen, diazepam therapy, and phenytoin therapy. Next is the antihypertensive and diuretic. In spite of anticonvulsant and sedative regimen, we already discussed, if the blood pressure remains more than 140/100 of mmHg, antihypertensive drugs should be administered. Drugs commonly used iodizine, labetalol, calcium channel blockers, or nitroglycerin. So these are the commonly used antihypertensive drugs. Next, diuretics. The presence of pulmonary edema requires diuretics. In such cases, the potent one, that is furosemide, you already studied in the last 6, furosemide should be administered in doses of 20 to 40 mg intravenously and to be repeated at interval. That is the drugs. You can see the antihypertensive drugs, hydralazine, labetalol, okay, nitroglycerin. Then management drugs during the fits. That is management during the feeds can be done. In pre-monitor, we already told about the 4 stages of feeds. Okay, so in pre-monitory stage, mouth gag is placed in between the teeth to prevent the tongue bite and remove after the closing state or the phase is over. The air passage is to be cleared off with the mucus and with the mucus sucker. The patient head is to be turned to one side and raising the foot end of the bed facilitates postural drainage of the upper respiratory. So we can keep the patient to head turned to one side. So it will facilitate easy drainage of the secretion, and oxygen is given until the cyanosis disappear. Next is the starter if the patient has status eclampticus. So thiopental sodium 0.5 mg, so 5 gram dissolved in 20 ml of 5% dextrose is given IV very slowly. The patient has status eclampticus. Then in unresponsive cases, cesarean section in ideal surroundings may be a life-saving attempt. Next is the treatment of complication, that is prophylactic use of antibiotics markedly reduces the complication like pulmonary and pleural infections. For pulmonary edema and ARDS, furosemide 40 mg IV followed by 20 gram of mannitol IV can be given, and pulse oximeter is very useful in such patient. Then aspiration of mucus from the tracheobronchial tree by the suction apparatus can be done. And for heart failure, this is for the pulmonary edema and the ARD. So for the heart failure, the oxygen inhalation, patented Lasix. Lasix is the, we already read the diuretic, and digitalis are the used. For anuria, that is the absence of urine. It's an anuria. The dopamine infusion is given. Then for hyperpyrexia, cold sponging and antipyrexis can be given. For the psychosis, chlorpromazine or trifluoperazine is quite effective. So this is the treatment of the complication for pulmonary edema, to prevent the infection, to pulmonary edema, for heart failure, for anuria, for hyperpyrexia, and for psychosis. Next is the intensive care model. The patient with multiple medical problems need to be admitted in the intensive care unit, where she is looked after by a team consisting of obstetrician, physician, and expert anesthetists. Cardiac, renal, pulmonary condition are managed effectively. Use of blood gas analysis to detect hypoxia and acidosis. And pulmonary oximetry, pulse oximetry, and central venous pressure monitor should be done depending on individual's case or need. A deeply unconscious patient with raised ICP needs steroids and diuretic therapy. CT scan and MRI may be needed for the diagnosis. This is intensive care module. The patient is admitted in the intensive care. Next is obstetrical management. During pregnancy, in majority cases with antepartum eclampsia, labor starts soon after when the convulsion is over. After that, suddenly the labor starts. But when labor fails to start, the management depends upon according to the whether the fits are controlled or not, and the maturity of the fetus. Like that, we are deciding the labor how to start. Fits are controlled. There may be three conditions like baby mature, baby premature, and baby dead. So according to the baby's condition, we can take the management. So if the baby is mature, delivery should be done. If service is unfavorable and there is no contraindication of vaginal delivery, surgical induction by low rupture of membrane is done. This ARM can be done. When the cervix is unfavorable and cervical ripening with the prostaglandin gel can be used to achieve, then before the ARM. So before ARM, if the cervix is not ripened, then we can use the prostaglandin gel, E2 gel. Then after the few dilatation, then we can do the ARM. Then if the cervix is unfavorable or there is obstetrical contraindication for the vaginal delivery, then we can go for the cesarean section. So if this is the management if the baby is mature. Next, if the baby is premature and less than 37 weeks of gestation, delivery is recommended in set of NICU. The underlying disease processes of preeclampsia and eclampsia persistent until the woman delivers. The disease process may flare up, and moreover there is a risk of convulsion and intrauterine fetal death. And steroid therapy is given when pregnancy is less than 34 weeks, and conservative management or early pregnancy may improve the perinatal outcome, but this must be carefully balanced with the maternal well-being. So if the baby is premature, how can we manage? Then baby if dead, the preeclampsia process gradually subside and eventually expulsion of the baby occur. Then otherwise medical method of induction can be started. Next, we can see how the fits are. If the fits not controlled, what can be done? If the fits are not controlled with the anticonvulsant with a reasonable period, like 6 to 8 hours, or within 6 to 8 hours, the fits are not controlled, then the administration of pregnancy should be done. If vaginal examination indicates a quick response to induction, low rupture of membranes, then oxygen infusion can be added. Uterus responds well to the oxygen in such cases. In presence of unfavorable factors, cesarean section is the quick response. Then during labor, what all the care should be given? In the absence of any contraindication to vaginal delivery, as soon as the labor is well established, low rupture of membrane has to be done to accelerate the labor. So this method is to low rupture of membrane. The dose schedule of antihypertensive and anticonvulsant drugs may be increased to in the patient. We already explained about antihypertensive drugs and anticonvulsant drugs. It can be given to in the patient's BP and the convulsion. And second stage should be curtailed, that means shortened by the forceps, vendos or craniotomy. The baby is dead. So second stage is shortened by the use of forceps delivery or vacuum delivery, and if the baby is dead, we can do the craniotomy. And prophylactic intravenous ergometry or syndrometry following the delivery of the anterior shoulder should not be given, as it may produce further raise of blood pressure. This is the important point. Sometimes you will ask in the examination. So in a eclamptic patient, the ergometry usually we are giving after ergometry or syndrometry after the anterior shoulder will be given, but in eclamptic patient we should not be given, because it may produce further rise of blood pressure, and instead of 10 unit of oxytocin, IM or IV slowly should be given. Instead of this, we can give oxytocin. One should remain vigilant about the postpartum hemorrhage and shock. So always be vigilant and observable to check for the postpartum hemorrhage or the shock. An indication for cesarean section and control fits in spite of therapy. In spite of all the anticonvulsant therapy, it cannot be. If it is not controlled, we can do the cesarean section. An unconscious patient with a poor prospect of vaginal delivery and obstetrical indication of microcephaly. So for all these indications, we can do the cesarean section. And follow up and prognosis. Patient should be followed up in the postnatal clinic by 6 weeks time. And persistence of hypertension and proteinuria, abnormal blood biochemistry necessitates further investigation and consultation with the physician should be done. If it is not controlled or any problems is last long after the delivery, can be consulted the physician. And further pregnancy should be referred till means decided till they are controlled. So when control all these problems, only for the pregnancy they should think for the pregnancy. And about the recurrence, the risk varies between 2 to 25%. The risk of preeclampsia and eclampsia to the daughter of an eclamptic patient is about 24% and 3% respectively. So there is few chances of recurrence to their daughter is around 2 to 25%. So we just see in the sum up in this obstetrical management, that is the eclampsia, that is we already know anticonvulsant, antihypertensive and diuretic can be provided if the patient had patient is not in labor land, which can be controlled. Which control baby, term, preterm and dead. Term can do the delivery, preterm can be provide steroid therapy for the lung maturation, then delivery. So then the delivery method is injection, prostaglandin, oxytocin and the AR. And if there is contraindication, you can go for the cesarean. If dead baby, same like injection or for labor, prostaglandins and the craniotomy also done to fasten delivery and to the delivery. If it's not controlled, after 6 to 8 hours delivery to assess the induction score, then favorable aanengi, if the cervix is favorable, induction by ARM and oxytocin. If it is unfavorable, cesarean section. Then in labor, majority of cases are usually come with eclampsia is in labor. So if it is in labor, we can do the ARM. The first and second stage of labor that is done with forceps or ventos, that is to shorten the second stage. And so we can do the cesarean section in which in the labor, and any obstetrical indication we can do the cesarean. This is the overall management for the eclampsia. That's all about the eclampsia. I think all of you clearly understood about the eclampsia. It is the preeclampsia is complicated with the convulsion and seizure. It is known as the eclampsia. It is different stages are there, and there are many complications may arise, and you have to manage with the anticonvulsant and antihypertensive and diuretic. antibiotics. So according to the condition of the patient, we can do the management. It can be done for an induction of labor or the cesarean section, and according to the baby's condition also we can decide the management. So that's all. I think all of you are clearly understood. Thank you for listening.